I've probably watched the video 25 times at this point from multiple different angles in Minneapolis after 37-year-old Renee Good, who, yes, did have ties to Kansas City. We will talk about that. The car was registered in the state of Missouri, but I've watched it 25 times, give or take. And I spent most of yesterday afternoon watching the video, being like, it just doesn't look great. Just doesn't. And then I watched it from a different angle. I know a lot of us have seen different angles of this video from yesterday where an ICE agent ends up shooting a woman in Minneapolis after she was impeding clearly the work that ICE was trying to do up in Minneapolis, where, of course, they are actively engaged in trying to do their job, which they are legally allowed to do. This woman in a maroon Honda Pilot with Missouri plates ends up basically getting in the way of whatever ICE is trying to do on a snowy street up in Minneapolis yesterday. And then what you see happen is a law enforcement officer, an ICE agent, try to basically get her out of her vehicle to arrest her because she's getting in the way of what they're trying to accomplish up there in Minneapolis. And, of course, her car is locked and she will not get out of the vehicle. She then starts to pull away. Her car is stopped. It's impeding traffic. And then she starts to pull away. And at that moment, there's a different ICE agent who was really not involved with this woman at all. And then what happens is he kind of gets caught off guard. He draws his weapon. She starts driving towards him, but I think really to get out of the way because she wanted to basically evade law enforcement. I don't think that in just watching the video, she was in any way targeting that ICE agent and trying to run him over. But you can see right as the vehicle hits the ICE agent is when he opens fire on the car. And the bullet goes through the windshield and kills this 37-year-old woman, Renee Good, who does leave behind 3 children. A teenager, I think the other one's like 11 or 12, and then a 5-year-old. It's tragic. I feel terrible for her children. But after watching the video and talking to people in law enforcement, and I talked to someone in law enforcement yesterday who felt the same way as me. He watched it over and over and over, and he's like, man, this doesn't really make the ICE agent look good. It makes him look like he's got a quick trigger. But then we both talked about the angle that has not gotten as much attention, where you can see this agent in particular is really not engaged with this car. It looks like he may be even on the phone. And then as he's turning around, suddenly that car starts peeling out of there, the maroon Honda Pilot, and he ends up opening fire. Because he's looking at this thing from 10 feet away, if that, and suddenly he's got a car moving in his direction. Now, is it going 90 miles an hour? No. But when you've got a 2,000, 3,000-pound weapon moving towards you, and you're a member of law enforcement, and you're in a chaotic situation, you've got, it looks like, dozens of people on the sidewalk yelling at you, making noises, videotaping you, things like that. And then you've got somebody driving a vehicle towards you. It's easy to say, as I've heard people say over the last 12 hours, shoot the tire. Dive out of the way. It's so easy to say that. And then you realize that's the movies. That's not real life. So while I'm watching this thing over and over and over yesterday and admitting it is absolutely tragic, I can't help but come to the obvious conclusion that you had an individual who was willingly getting in the way of law enforcement, who then basically avoided being arrested. And then, on top of all of that, decides to shift her vehicle into drive and basically clip an ICE agent. At the very least, if that cop or if that ICE agent did absolutely nothing in that scenario, nothing whatsoever, he's getting hit by that car. Now, is he dying? Probably not. Based on the speed the car was moving, he's probably not dead today if he just doesn't do anything. Is he injured? Yes. And when you're talking about split-second decisions in chaotic situations, which is what that was yesterday, and the chaotic situation, let's be very clear, was chaotic because of the woman who was getting in the way, 37-year-old Renee Good, who has ties to Kansas City. It was a chaotic situation because of her vigilantism. That's why it was a chaotic situation. And it's not that I don't have sympathy or empathy for a woman being dead today. I do, and I think any normal person would. But then you've got to step back and say, why did this tragedy happen? And while, of course, we all know how this is going to work. It's going to go to a jury. You know, we're going to get more evidence. We're going to find out more about what happened leading up to it. All that stuff is going to come out. But just in that moment, watching that clip, it is so easy to Monday morning quarterback it. It is so easy to have 20/20 hindsight in the wake of what you're looking at in that moment. And it's also entirely unfair to the law enforcement official to do that in this moment right now. Now, there's a lot of audio that we've got from last night that we've heard from this morning, and we'll get to here on KCMO Talk Radio. Of course, you know, Governor Tim Walz is someone who is really in a lot of hot water right now. I mean, we said yesterday, Minnesota can't get itself out of the news. It's just crazy. From all the national stories, I mean, the daycare, Walz dropping out of his reelection bid. You got the guy that was killed at Lawrence City Hall, who was coming from Minnesota. We talked about that yesterday. We talked about all these Minnesota stories with some ties to Kansas City. Little did I know the biggest one was coming yesterday afternoon. I mean, it was like a running joke on the show yesterday about how much Minnesota stuff we've got with ties to Kansas City, and now we have another one today. But Tim Walz gets up there as the governor of the state and is just so irresponsible. I'm not going to sit here and blame the guy. But, man, his rhetoric certainly has not helped, okay? It definitely has not helped the situation, and he doubled down on that rhetoric yesterday.
We have been warning for weeks that the Trump administration's dangerous, sensationalized operations are a threat to our public safety, that someone was going to get hurt. Just yesterday, I said exactly that. What we're seeing is the consequences of governance designed to generate fear, headlines, and conflict. It's governing by reality TV. And today that recklessness cost someone their life.
Donald Trump using ICE agents to do what they are lawfully allowed to and frankly supposed to do, which his predecessor, of course, had no interest in because he was too busy, I would argue, breaking the law with open borders policy. But that kind of stuff right there does not tone the temperature down in the room. And I'm not sitting here and telling you that Trump is the greatest temperature toner downer that exists. I'm not saying that, okay? There's fair criticism that goes around on that front. But then let's call it both ways. Let's say, yeah, there are times that absolutely Trump can bring down the temperature, and people like to howl about that. And I give him that. But when you're the leader of the state in that moment yesterday, and your first gut reaction is to not just say, we've got a tragedy on our hands, we're going to let law enforcement do its job. We believe that, by the way, the law enforcement that is here, as much as we may disagree with it, they are lawfully allowed to be here. We do not want citizens getting in the way of, even if we disagree with the law enforcement doing its job. We've got to protect our citizens right now. Instead of saying those things, even if you disagree, and I'm not saying that Tim Walz can't disagree with the policy of the president. He's allowed to. It's America. But basically putting the blood of Renee Good on the hands of this administration is so wildly irresponsible and out of line from this guy. And it is from any leader. And we talk a lot about trying to figure out a way to make the conversation more approachable, more conversational, more agreeable when appropriate. We talk about that all the time on this show. But man, I'll tell you what, leaders across the board continue to fail. And if they can't do it, there's a downstream effect. If they're not willing to do it, then you know what? A lot of regular people watching from the sidelines are going to sit there and say, why am I going to do it? And I know that Walls doesn't like Trump for a multitude of reasons, okay? Whether it's stuff happening over the last few weeks or stuff that happened on the campaign trail from 15 months ago. But dude, someone's got to put on their big boy pants in that moment, and it sure as heck was not him. So this whole thing is absolutely tragic. And the first thing that should have came out of Tim Walz's mouth is, as much as many of us disagree with what's going on, we cannot get in the way of law enforcement doing its job. He can engage people. You can talk about political activism. You can talk about getting out to the polls in the midterms and this and that and the next thing. But you cannot encourage people to go out there and do what happened yesterday. You just can't do it. 913-408-7957. So what exactly are the ties to Kansas City for Renee Good? Where are her parents in the Kansas City area? What are they saying right now? We have those answers coming up next. Pete Mundo on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM, and you can stream us all morning long on the KCMO Talk Radio app. So 37-year-old Renee Good, who was shot and killed by an ICE agent yesterday in Minneapolis, filed a petition in Jackson County Circuit Court October of 2023 to change her last name, and she gave an address in Kansas City. According to her petition, Good wanted to change her last name from Renee Nicole Macklin to Renee Nicole Macklin Good. Her stated reason for the name change: I want to share a name with my partner. The document said that Good had 3 children, who at the time of the filing were ages 13, 10, and 3. The 2 older kids live in Colorado, and the youngest lived in Kansas City. A judgment approving the uncontested name change was entered November 21st of 2023. So you have this woman who had Missouri plates. I know a lot of you picked up on that right away yesterday. I did not. I watched the thing 25 times, and then I didn't recognize the Missouri plates at all until I started seeing some of that pop up in local news, because I'm so busy just looking at the people involved and the officers and the car and when it hits the cop and how this back and forth goes down. So I know, and I'm seeing some of your texts right now at 913-408-7957. Pete, it's not tragic, it's consequences. No, listen, it can be both, okay? It can be both. Yes, this woman's getting in the way and impeding ICE. I completely disagree with that and what she was doing, and she should have been arrested. But I'm sorry, when even if that person is, yes, breaking the law, the fact that she ends up dead as the mother of a 5-year-old, I find that tragic, okay? I find it tragic that a 5-year-old does not have their mother at home, even though the mother made decisions that were really dumb, that were illegal, and that, yes, risked her life. It can still be tragic. It's okay, guys. It's still a fellow American, even if that person vehemently disagreed with most of us. It's okay to call it tragic. We don't need to be super tribal about that part of it, okay? There are times when tribalism I get. And trust me, I'll be tribal when appropriate, but you can call this tragic. It's okay. It's a fellow human being. It's an American who, was doing illegal stuff. But when you leave behind 3 kids, including a little one, including a 5-year-old, it's tragic. And that's what I come back to with this one. And listen, that ICE agent involved, it's tragic that his life has changed forever too. And I don't know if he's going to get a fair shake up there in Minneapolis. It seems like Derek Chauvin didn't. The cop, of course, who was convicted of murder in George Floyd's case. I don't know how this is going to go for this ICE agent. And I do know I have empathy and sympathy for him in that spot as well. I mean, I'm seeing people say, shoot the tire, shoot this, shoot that, just jump out of the way. Like, it's some kind of Tom Cruise movie. That's not real life. It's not. So all around, what you need is leadership to step up at this time and just lead on the local level, on the state level, and on the federal level. And certainly on those first two, you're not seeing it. You're just not. That does not exist right now. And that's a darn shame up there, but it's part of the reason the state's in the position that it's in right now. Now, what was she doing up in Minneapolis? That is something we don't know. I mean, she had ties to Kansas City, she had ties to Colorado, and then also had ties to now Minnesota. So now we just sit here and we wait, and we hopefully get more of the information and see how it plays out. 913-408-7957. Let's go to Tom. He's in Paola. What's up, Tom? You're on KCMO.
Hey, good morning, man. Yeah, you just kind of alluded to my question. It begs the question of what was she even doing up there? I mean, is she, we hear so much about paid protesters and everything. Is that what this is? Maybe. I mean, it just Minnesota's not a short drive up there. I mean, it takes a little bit to get there. It's just a lot of questions that need to be asked, I think.
I would agree with that. She moved to Minneapolis last year and had lived in the Twin Cities with her partner, according to the Minnesota Star-Tribune.
So she moved up there.
Yes. Yes. So she had been up there for a period of time. But like you, I mean, I'm sitting here on yesterday was a Wednesday, and it's like, you got 3 kids. Do you work for a living, or do you just drive around trying to figure out how to get in the way of ICE doing its job, John?
Yeah, I think one of the stories indicated that the vehicle had been serviced in this area in February, just this last year, about a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah,
she's
been in the area. That's recent.
That times out with being up there for about a year, give or take.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that makes all the sense in the world. Now, I'm sure that things will come out in terms of if she had ties to any protest groups or organizations. I mean, clearly this person put their politics above all else, including her children. I mean, that's indisputable. She put the politics above her kids. And I saw this yesterday, and it really broke my heart. That Renee Good, mother of 3 per the Associated Press, had 2 kids, 15 and 12, from her first marriage. Her 6-year-old child's father died in 2023. So this 6-year-old has lost both of its parents. This woman made massive mistakes. I'm not denying that for a second. This woman was reckless. This woman clearly did not put her children ahead of her political activism. And her political activism and law breaking, which is clearly what was going on there, cost her her life. Okay? Clearly. That is indisputable. That being said, man, it is just gut-wrenching to know that a 6-year-old has now lost both of their parents. That is absolutely tragic. It is. And it's not as simple as like FAFO. I know people want to make it out to be that, but man, it is not that simple. And when I talked to somebody in law enforcement, I mean, they said to me yesterday, this is someone who I know well, you may know as well. And he said to me, he goes, boy, I was with you. I was kind of on the fence on this. But then when you see the angle from the backside, as this guy who ends up shooting her is not really paying attention to that car because he's doing something else, he spins around, that car is moving right towards him. It is a split-second gut reaction in that moment to stop the threat. That's what you're doing in that spot. And that's what you're largely taught to do in that spot. We got a lot to get to here this morning on KCMO Talk Radio, 6:33 on a Thursday. Mayor Lucas, 1 hour from now. We'll get his first public comments on what happened in Minneapolis yesterday. That should be a doozy. He has not posted anything about it on social media yet, so I will ask him. Bart's in Lawrence. Bart, what's going on?
Hey, I just wanted to mention that this woman did not just make mistakes. she committed crimes. She was interfering with a peace officer in the performance of their duty. That's a crime.
Yes.
She was resisting arrest. That's a crime. She then tried to flee that arrest and assaulted an officer with a deadly weapon. These are all crimes.
Yes. I'm not disagreeing with
you. Really talking about
that. I don't know. I mean, I think that, listen, the diehard anti-ICE people right away, no matter what they see with their own two eyes, are going to obviously make it out to be an anti-ICE thing, right? But I've actually seen, surprisingly, more fair coverage of this because you can't deny the video that shows the ICE agent getting hit at the split second that he fires his firearm.
Yep.
Are you former law enforcement, Bart?
Yes, I was. I was a California Highway Patrolman.
So let me ask you this then. The shots after the initial shot through the side window, the purpose of that at that point is what?
She's committed assault with a deadly weapon.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, you have somebody who is behaving with a malignant attitude towards society,
mm-hmm.
and they have a duty, and they have the option to use deadly force to stop that.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Because I saw like Stephen A. Smith. I watched him last night on News Nation, and he's like, "Shoot him in the tire, shoot the tire out." It's like that's like when Biden was saying, "Shoot people in the ankle" or something like that. It's like, you guys did the job obviously for years, but one thing I know about law enforcement is if you have to use the weapon, you have to target center mass. Correct?
Well, absolutely. I mean, if you're going to use a weapon, a deadly weapon, the purpose of using the deadly weapon is to end a threat.
Yeah.
And to end it as quickly as possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I get it. Bart, thanks for your service and thanks for the call.
Thank you.
All right. By the way, Bart went from California to Lawrence. I don't know. That's... I mean, yeah. We love our friends in Lawrence.
The weather.
Yeah.
Right.
Bart probably was like, I'm going to go to Kansas. It's wholesome. It's a little more right of center than where I've been. And then he ends up in Lawrence. Whoops. I'm saying that tongue in cheek, Bart. I'm sure you're there for a reason, and we appreciate the insight. I'll tell you what, 95.7 FM is now booming in Lawrence. I used to take the girls out to KU. They would have, the oldest, Claire, had a dance recital there a couple of times. And this was before we were on 95.7 FM. We were still just on 710 AM, and then we had the 103.7 FM, which was just a little pea shooter translator. And 710 was always spotty depending on which hill you were going up and down in Lawrence. But now I know, because we've got a lot more traction there in Lawrence, that 95.7 FM is, 95.7 FM booms all the way almost out to Manhattan. So it has been, it's been now 2.5 years, but still, I love hearing from folks outside of the traditional listening area. Mark in Independence, good morning. Mark, you're on KCMO.
Hey, quick to the point. I'm retired military, center mass, because you don't have time to blink, number one. Number two, let's reverse the situation, and let's say that there was a security guard in an abortion clinic, and somebody pulled up there and thudded that security guard and raised the engine. What would the libs be saying then?
Yeah. Throw that proposal at me again.
Let's reverse the situation. Let's say there's a security guard at an abortion clinic.
Oh,
there's a protest going on.
Yeah.
Somebody drives the car towards the abortion clinic and nudges the security guard, and he fires. I don't hear the left crying then.
Yeah. Now, listen, here's the reality, Mark. It's a sad reality. But before most people saw the video yesterday, they probably had an opinion on the video. Because that's the climate that we find ourselves in right now. You're either Team ICE or you're Team ICE protester. So right away, people are going to back into their corners and they're going to justify the actions of their preferred side, John.
Just like the Hilton and Hampton thing.
Yes.
Right? You're immediately making an inference out of the headline you read before you get all the details.
Exactly right. Exactly right. And that's what happened here yesterday. And that's why for me, I admit my first reaction was this, like, I understand what happened, but then it didn't look great. And then you're sitting there and you're trying to figure out what are all the angles. And then when you see a clear angle of this guy not being engaged with the car, and then the split second he's hit by the vehicle, he's also firing his weapon. It's like boom, boom, right there, back to back. And you're saying it's indisputable. This person, to Bart's point, is getting in the way of law enforcement, resisting arrest, trying to flee law enforcement, and then also, while she's not barreling down the street 90 miles an hour, is hitting an officer with a vehicle, with a deadly weapon. But it still, of course, can be a tragedy, which is what it is. So yesterday, back here in Kansas City, of course, this woman having ties to Kansas City, but what's happening here in Kansas City is a Clay County Commissioner, Jason Withington, posting on his social media that he's done with the Royals. Now, Jason's been on this show. He does a nice job up there in Clay County, but I'm here to tell you that he's not calling the shots. He's not. Okay, he's not superseding Jerry Nolte. This is just his opinion. Jason Withington writes on social media yesterday, Clay County Commissioner, I loathe the business of baseball. Like Kansas, I'm done negotiating with the Royals. We worked in good faith for November of 2025, meaning getting them on the ballot for November of 25 because they need a sales tax in Clay County to get any of the state money. Then April of 26, meaning they are up against a deadline right now in January to get something on the ballot for April of 2026. They have to, as I understand it, the Royals have to basically signal to Clay County by probably middle of this month, next week sometime, that they want to be on the ballot in Clay County for a sales tax for the Royals to get on that April ballot.
Yeah. The story I read said it's today, or at least Jason was inferring it was today.
Yeah.
And then he said that the Royals said they weren't ready for today. So that's his version of it.
That's his version. Okay.
Right.
And then Jason says here, they're not ready for either. At some point, you stop negotiating. The Royals are not done in Clay County. And I mean that with all due respect to Jason, but he ain't calling the shots here. He can have an opinion, but he's not the point person for the negotiations anyway. So it's don't overstate this.
Mm-hmm.
It's one commissioner who has an opinion who's not the head of the commission.
Seems like maybe he had invested a lot of personal time in trying to get them ready for an August deadline for the November ballot, and that didn't pass. And maybe he worked a little bit more, and this didn't pass. Like, if today's the day, as he infers, he's burned out, and maybe he shouldn't have hit send, so to speak.
Yeah.
We've had a couple of incidents of that this week. You're better off just keeping that to yourself, maybe.
That is exactly
Possibly.
Right. So, yeah, I did see that 41 saying here that today is the deadline for the Royals to appear on the April 26th ballot. I'm not sure that's true. I don't know if that was a self-imposed deadline or what it was, but my understanding was that it was maybe a little bit later in the month. But either way, this is the opinion of one commissioner. That's what this is. It does not mean the Royals are not going to Clay County, but it does mean this. I mean, with each passing day, the Royals are becoming more frustrating to everybody in Kansas City. Everyone. Except for maybe Mayor Lucas, who's like, come on back to me, baby. Come on, I'm here for you. Open arms. Let's go. Let's go. I got you covered here, guys. I mean, you had Dan Hawkins yesterday, Speaker of the House, say that he's done with the Royals. You had a commissioner in Clay County say he's done with the Royals. So, and by the way, now it's like, where do you go? Kansas City's looking better by the day because it might be the only option left, John.
I like to go back to jacking around with the Stockyard state line thing, with left field bullpen over here, that kind of thing.
Oh, man.
Might as well start from scratch.
Yeah, might as well, man. Might as well. But I'll tell you what, I have not seen a negotiation go this poorly for a professional team where they are just getting, or they're ticking off literally everybody that they're trying to do business with. It is wow. It's embarrassing.
Maybe if they could have brought us a cleanup hitter,
yeah,
they might have been a little more enthusiastic for the whole rest of this BS, right? Get the order right here.
Oh, that would
Our
be
needs
good.
are but simple.
That would be good, man. That would be good. Although I did see this, people were, I don't know where this came from the other day on social media, but I saw this. People were raving about, hey, this Royals rotation of Reagans and Bubich and Lugo and Waka and Cameron is like the most underrated rotation in Major League Baseball. So I just shared that post on X, and I said, unfortunately, no one in baseball history has figured out how to win games 0 to -1.
I was going to say, now we're getting into soccer kind of things here.
Yeah.
But we can just figure out how to win 1-0.
Exactly. It's like, man, that only gets you so far, okay? You got to do the other part of the game, and that's hit the baseball. Unbelievable. You just heard it, top of the hour news on our Fox News update. Good morning, 7:04 on a Thursday across Kansas City. Thanks for joining us. Of course, the big national news story of the day and of the last 24 hours has been this woman, Renee Good, who lived in Kansas City for a period of time, was shot and killed by an ICE agent while protesting yesterday and then resisting arrest and then driving her vehicle right into an officer who opened up fire on her. So that's what happened yesterday. If you haven't seen the video, you can find it for yourself and you can look it up and you can come to your own conclusion on it. I struggled with it yesterday. And then I talked to law enforcement last night and a couple of folks. And actually one individual said to me, he said, hey, Pete, I was with you all day. I wasn't sure how I felt about this. And then I saw the angle that is not getting as much attention. It's from probably 100 feet away on the back side of the vehicle. And you can see this cop, this ICE agent, is not really paying attention to the maroon car driven by Renee Good. He's doing his own thing. It looks like he might be on the phone. And then he turns around, split-second decision. Car is driving basically right towards him, right into him, and he opens fire. And he goes, that was the moment as the car hits him and he opens fire. It's like, boom, boom, right there, back to back. That's when he said, in that moment, I've got to give the cop in that situation or the ICE agent in that situation the benefit of the doubt. She put herself in a horrible spot, did multiple illegal things over the 60 seconds leading up to her death. It still is a tragic death. There's no disputing that, right? I find it still to be a tragedy that this woman, who, yes, made every mistake in the book, leaves behind 3 minor children, including a 6-year-old, who lost its father in 2023 and now doesn't have a mother. I think that's horrible. But a lot of mistakes were made by this person leading up to the tragedy that took place. Did she deserve to die over what happened? I don't know. That's not my call to make. What I do know is that when you stack up illegal decision on illegal decision on illegal decision, you are increasing your chances of a tragedy like that taking place. So yesterday, the whole world is watching Minneapolis. And what do you get from its leadership? I mean, you get people like this. You get do-nothing, wannabe Broadway stars like Jacob Fry, and that's really where Jacob Fry is. I mean, the guy, it looks like with the way he acts, the way he speaks, the way he leads, going back to George Floyd, he comes off like a guy who wants to be on Broadway and couldn't make it. So he settled for politics. And politics is where he gets to pretend. Politics is where he gets to act. And this is what you got out of the mayor of Minneapolis yesterday.
To ICE, get the out of Minneapolis. Your stated reason for being in this city is to create some kind of safety, and you are doing exactly the opposite. Somebody is dead. That's on you. This was an agent recklessly using power that resulted in somebody dying. To the family, I'm so deeply sorry. We're going to be working towards justice as quickly as we possibly can right now. And justice is what we've all got to get. We're going to make sure that in this very difficult moment, we do not take the bait that these ICE agents are trying to create and that the federal government, to be clear, wants.
Well, he's certainly turning down the temperature. I mean, I'm telling you, this guy, he would much rather be performing in Hamilton. Maybe he's more of a Moulin Rouge guy. I don't know. But he'd rather be on Broadway than actually being the mayor. So he gets to get up there. He gets to do his dog and pony show, his pomp and circumstance, and he gets to act like a tough guy and do what his base in Minneapolis wants him to do. Is he helping the situation? Not one bit. Not one bit. Is he doing anything that's beneficial to his own citizenry? Absolutely not. In fact, he's doubling down. And it's this kind of tragic rhetoric about ICE that we've seen over the last 12 months that has led to now multiple tragedies and has driven people crazy. We have the shooting down in Dallas a couple of months back. Remember that? There was the person on the rooftop who was targeting ICE agents and ends up instead shooting and killing those who were arrested by ICE outside of a facility down in Dallas a couple of months back. You have this person yesterday, Renee Good, 37 years old, lived in Kansas City up until about a year ago, go up there and just clearly act like a vigilante and try to take the law into her own hands. And then when they try to stop her, tragedy ensues. And that's what's going to happen here. I mean, this kind of rhetoric does have consequences. Now, many of you on the text line are out there and you're alleging, like, is she a paid protester? What is she doing out there middle of the day? I don't know. We don't have any of that information yet. It's not clear what she's doing middle of the day, broad daylight, out there getting in the way of ICE doing its job. Because there were witnesses in the area as well who talked to some local media, and they made it very clear that Renee Good was somebody who was leading the charge on this specific protest that was going on of these agents. And it's amazing because you've got dozens of people on the side of the road recording all of this, which is also strange to me. I'm like, it's the middle of the day on a Wednesday. Does anybody work around here? Do these people, like, go to jobs? Or are they all just videographers for social media or something like that to try to get in the way of ICE? Because that's what it looked like yesterday.
They clearly wanted her out of there because she was the main car leading the protest, is my understanding. I talked to another guy who was driving behind her, but she was very successful in blocking traffic. She was doing what she was set out to do, and so they wanted to get her the hell out of there. Yeah. So
it looked like she was impeding ICE vehicles.
Definitely, yeah.
Okay.
That was her goal.
And when you play stupid games, you can unfortunately win very stupid prizes. And actually yesterday, the first person I talked to about it, because I was struggling while watching the video all day, was Kate. And I said to her, hey, would you look at this video? Just let me know what you think. She didn't even know what had happened. I mean, listen, she's home with the kids. Life's busy. I get it. So I wanted just like an unbiased perspective, right? I said, look at this video. What do you see? Because I'm struggling with this, right? That's what I told her. I said, not that I'm supporting this woman at all for breaking the law multiple times. I'm just saying, what did you think when you see the video? And she goes, I see a lady who had no business being in the position that she was in and then driving right towards a cop and unfortunately finding out in a very tragic way the consequences of breaking the law. And I'm like, okay, all right. I mean, she was more solid on this than I was after watching the video.
Mm-hmm. I've only seen one, and maybe I'm fortunate. The first one I saw was what I'll call a 3/4 from the rear side, maybe back from the taillight where you could see down the side of the vehicle as it pulled away, and you can see the officer out front. So that's the only one I've seen. And that looked pretty open and shut to me as to what it was.
Yes.
Where she was heading towards the officer, and he's going to react. They're saying she wasn't driving fast or whatever, but I would indicate you're going as fast as you can go at that point in the sense that you're starting from zero, from a dead stop.
Correct.
So,
and then you're backing up, and then you're going forward, knowing full well you have an ICE agent sitting there right in front of you.
Well, we've had incidents where somebody drives into a parade in Wisconsin and down in New Orleans at New Year's Eve, et cetera. All kinds of incidents with a vehicle being involved.
Exactly. That happens too. So we've got all these things now that you're looking at, and it's easy to sit there and say, shoot the tire. The car's not going 90 miles an hour down the street. And I've seen a lot of that on social media. You got to stop watching the movies. I mean, come on. You're not watching some Bruce Willis or Tom Cruise flick here. It's not what you're watching. This is real life people in real life, high stress situations. That's what you're looking at. Before we get to the break, let's fit in Sarah in Raymore. Go ahead, Sarah. You're on KCMO. Good morning.
Good morning. My first reaction to this, after I saw the videos and all of that, is that, we're coming off of the Nick Shaver, or the YouTuber that put the information out there about Somalia and Minneapolis, and we're coming off of that. There's lots of pressure to control what's going on up there, so they have to divert. The left does. Like, those local politicians have to divert. So I feel like they shipped in or brought in the protesters, and they're trying to turn this into a George Floyd thing. And, unfortunately, there will be a lot of people that fall for it, and they shouldn't, because there was a lot of fraud going on up there that shouldn't be ignored. And at the end of the day, they just sort of let law enforcement do what they need to do and get out of the way. And I'm sorry that happened, but unfortunately, I think what's going to happen is this is going to turn into George Floyd Part 2.
I appreciate the call there, Sarah. Thank you very much for making it. One thing that I will say, one of the few responsible things that Tim Walz did say yesterday, the governor of Minneapolis, is basically protest peacefully. So it seems like they understand riots would look bad for them. But secondarily, I don't think we're going to get George Floyd 2.0. And there's two reasons for it. And reason number one, I hate to be this blunt, but the woman's white. And reason two, it's January in Minneapolis. I think those two reasons are two of the main reasons we will not get a George Floyd 2.0 protest. Mayor Lucas will be here at 7:35 on KCMO Talk Radio, 95.7 FM. Streaming, as always, on the KCMO Talk Radio app. We got some drama in Chiefs Kingdom. And no, it's not about the stadium. It's about some nasty allegations that surfaced about a player next. Wouldn't be the offseason without some Chiefs drama, right? Jeez.
Boy, I guess.
Yesterday, an ex-girlfriend of wide receiver Rashee Rice made a social media post alleging domestic abuse. The Chiefs said in a statement, the club is aware of the allegations on social media, is in communication with the National Football League. We have no further comment at this time. Rice's ex-girlfriend, Dakota Nicole, posted a collection of photos that showed damage to a house and bruising on her face and body. She posted a lengthy caption, did not mention Rice by name, but noted here, I'm so tired of keeping quiet. I'm so tired of protecting his image. I've been through too much in a span of 8 years, and I've had enough. I've dealt with abuse for years. Me and this man decided to break up a couple of months ago, and since then it's been nothing but hell. Now, Rashee Rice and this woman have 2 sons. Nicole went on to detail the allegations, including a home break-in, cheating, and cutting up her shoes, saying he's very controlling. There have been times he's come to my home, broken my door. He would put his hands on me while I was pregnant, even had the audacity to lock me outside all night in 10-degree weather because he got caught cheating. She says here he's cut up all my shoes and clothes, leaving me with nothing because he's gotten caught up. And there's multiple instances of cheating, but besides that, I'm just tired of him not doing right by my boys. It's not fair he doesn't call them. He'd rather be laid up with hoes, she alleged. I don't know what's true here. I have no idea. We know this, that Rashee Rice was suspended 6 games, of course, this past season, for violating the NFL's personal conduct policy. The suspension stemmed from his 2 third-degree felony charges from a March 2024 crash on a Dallas highway. He was driving a Lamborghini 119 miles an hour. He made multiple aggressive maneuvers around traffic before crashing into other vehicles. Rice did not check on those vehicles involved in the crash and fled on foot. You know, the first thought I had here, I mean, listen, if any of this is true, he should be done in Kansas City. But we understand that there have been allegations over the years against professional athletes, and they were not true. I did see there was some stuff going around yesterday on this story that Rashee Rice's grandmother was going off on this woman in the comments section of this post, saying that she's full of it, none of it's true, she's looking for money, the whole thing. I'm not going to sit here and say Rashee Rice is guilty, even though I don't think he's the best dude based on what we know happened on that highway in Dallas almost 2 years ago. But heck, we saw it with, what's his name, the punter. You just get these allegations that sometimes come against professional athletes, and they're not always true. So I don't know what happened here. I know this, though. I was critical at the time when the Chiefs showed up on the field before a game, including Travis Kelce, and had those free 4 T-shirts. Remember that? Rashee Rice is number 4.
Yep.
And they were acting like Rashee Rice was some victim here. The NFL's out to get him. And I was like, somebody had to see these T-shirts and be like, guys, you are not stepping on the field with free 4 T-shirts on. You're not. This guy's lucky he didn't kill somebody. Going 119 miles an hour on the freeway in Dallas, crashing into multiple vehicles, and then fleeing on foot. Okay, this is not some victim here. I know it's popular for everybody to claim victim status in America in 2026, but Rashee Rice was not a victim then. And it's like, man, these guys should know better. Travis Kelce, who wore one of these shirts, should know better. If it was like one of his punk first or second year teammates who's like, I'm going to stand up for Rashee, maybe. But Travis Kelce, leader of the team, you know what kind of character guy you've got there. Do better. And that's where it's like, I'm willing to wait for facts to come out on these types of stories because they can go in sometimes a wrong direction. But I'll tell you what, I'm not necessarily wanting to give the benefit of the doubt.